Another big deal in the world of sports. David Beckham has partnered with his former teammate Gary Neville and global advisory and investing platform Consello to buy Salford City Football Club. Alongside a number of other business executives, the consortium aims to take the English League Two team all the way to the Championship League in the next 5 years. Let's discuss the deal. Gary Neville is here, former Manchester United and England defender, owner of Salford City Football Club and Consello partner, as well as Declan Kelly, founder, chairman, CEO of Consello, and now owner too, in your right. And Gary, I want to start with you because you're already a part owner alongside, of course, David Beckham and indeed what is called the class of '92, some other teammates from Manchester United days. And I'm interested in why now? Why this sport? Why this particular team? Why inject more money?
Yeah, I mean, Salford has been part of our lives now for over 10 years, and it got to the point about 12 months ago whereby we were restructuring the ownership. Peter Lim, who'd been a long-time partner, had exited in the class of '92, as you just mentioned, took control of the club. And we had a couple of offers for the club pre-Christmas, but it was really important, in particular to me and David, that we had an authentic partnership, one that we knew we could trust, and also that the club could be protected for the next 5 years to 10 years. So me and David went and met Declan back in January, and it was an ambitious ask to bring together a group of people in such a short period of time. But if you've met Declan before, you know he's a force of nature, and we got straight into it. Delighted to say that we've completed yesterday, and obviously we've announced the partnership today, and Declan's immense support has been critical in the last few months in bringing it together, along with Lord Mervyn Davis, who introduced me to Declan quite a few years ago now.
And what's also interesting, Declan, is there's expertise from the sports side of things, there's expertise from the business side of things. What did you go out there and say to these other business executives? What was the opportunity, the commercial opportunity, do you think?
You know, I think sport and business are becoming more and more intertwined each and every passing week. Actually, you can see a lot more capital travelling across the Atlantic to invest in all different tiers of English football. I think the digital transformation of these clubs, the loyalty side of things, how you engage with fans, that whole thing is changing. And so we put together a group of people from the backgrounds of technology, the law, business, and sports and entertainment. And I think the group that we've put together all has a perfect sort of locking into mechanism to be able to do this together. And it's been put together with a lot of thought. And so I'm very confident that we'll be able to work well together. And everybody's doing this for the right reasons. They're not doing this for a laugh. They're not doing this because it's a vanity project. They're doing it because they think they can really make a difference. The most important priority is to be successful on the field. So that's where we're going to focus our first piece of attention. And then the second is the commercialization of the club. And as Mervyn said yesterday, I think we can turn this club into the best small club in the world if we do it properly.
So, Gary, what is the opportunity for Salford City? For those who haven't tracked the success that they already had since 2014 when you first put in money, boy, did they climb. But then it sort of plateaued off a little bit. What injects that precision on the pitch more broadly?
Look, I think the last 10 years have been fantastic, but you're right, in the last 3 or 4 years we have plateaued. We've been stuck in League Two, and I think that the priority of every football club and the biggest opportunity is to be successful on the pitch. I don't think you should ever forget that when you're the guardian of a football club and the owner of a football club, that fans want to see success on the field of play. But I think there's also an element to football that means that we want to make this, as Declan just said, referring to Mervyn, one of the best small clubs in the world, and that means being innovative on the pitch, but also being successful off the pitch. And the sort of the network of people that have been brought together and the skill sets of the people that have been brought together and the expertise, I think, are going to ensure that the club not only is successful on the field, but also that we very importantly increase our revenues to become sustainable, to ensure that the long-term sort of future of Salford City is prosperous. We want to become a championship club, yes, but do it in a way which is sort of authentic and true to what we believe in is right, which is to run a successful business more sustainably.
And a lot of these people, like Lord Davis, Nick Woodhouse of Authentic Brands, of course, David Beckham, yourself, perhaps not going to be having the day-to-day management. But Declan, when you're thinking about your own role and Consello's role, what is the day-to-day going to look like? How do you pull those levers? Because there's not exactly economic nirvana out there at the moment.
No, I know it's not going to be easy. We have a commercial capability inside of Consello that we've agreed to make available to the club. It'll be run by my partner, Janie Whiteside, who was the Chief Commercial Officer of Walmart for a number of years and American Express before that for 20 years. So we have a sports advisory business that actually does this for a living for some of the biggest brands in the world. So I'd like to think through those relationships and that level of expertise we'd be able to help. But, we're also realistic. Rome wasn't built in a day. We're going to start small. We're going to see what we can do. I really like the team we've put together. It's an honour and a pleasure to work with David and Gary and Mervyn. And, the fans deserve success. This is a great club. It's done great things out of nothing for a long time. And we're very optimistic we can make a difference.
And Gary, it is about the fans. It's also about the team. Now, many are going to be thinking to the Wrexham playbook in some ways and the way that they've seen success on the pitch, but also the content that's driven with that and the way in which it's galvanised a global fan base. What do you think the fans, the true long-term fans of Salford City are going to be feeling at this moment? How do you play to them?
Well, we know the feedback, obviously. They've been so excited this last few hours, the amount of texts and calls and feedback that I've got from the team there in Salford. I'm in London today, but they've been feeding back into me the excitement that's been growing in the city. And you refer to, obviously, Wrexham. They've done a great job there over the last few years, but we've been in Salford now for 10 years. We had a documentary 9 years ago, I think the very first fly-on-the-wall documentary of a football club that was on the BBC and used to get millions of people watching it. We definitely want to revisit that type of model and grow commercial revenues, but doing it in such a way whereby football is always deemed as a priority. And there is great excitement on the ground here. It's a new injection of life into Salford City. I think over the last 2 or 3 years, we have, to be fair, lost a little bit of momentum on the pitch, and we need to get that back now. So there's great excitement around doing that.
And Gary, how do you do that? I mean, I know David's given an interview and onto The Athletic, I think, and he's saying, look, I've got my eyes on the Premier League, but I'm going to dream big. Like, how do you take it step by step? How do you ensure that you get that sort of success galvanised in the actual players?
The club has been running us in a certain way over the last 10 years, which was true to the ownership that owned it for that 10 years. And I think it'll be very different moving forward. I think we will be appointing a brand new CEO in the next couple of months, which will mean that there'll be a new leadership group within the club. I ran the club part-time for 8 years as an operating shareholder. And you think of the sort of investment that's gone into the club. It's mad that I was doing it 2 days a week, obviously with a team that were working with me. But we weren't really, to be fair, full-time looking at it. We were still running it as a semi-professional club, which is where it started. This will be a serious football operation, a serious business operation with people in the boardroom and that are shareholders who really are, they've been successful in life. My exposure to Declan, to Consello, to Lord Mervyn Davies over this last few years has had an enormous impact in my learning. And I know that learning is going to now be sort of integrated into Salford City from a business perspective.
And Declan, you could get more investors. Like, from what I understand,
Yep.
How are you drumming up that support? How are you thinking about the capital that needs to be injected? There were reports of 15 to 20 million was put in. Is that the sort of amount that's needed for this size of team?
Yeah, first of all, my phone has been buzzing a lot this morning.
It always does.
So, well, thank you. But a lot of people actually contacted us already today asking if they can join the investment group. So I think that's a good sign. The good news is we've kept a stub of 20% for people who are interested. And we'll talk about valuation down the line and see what we can do with that. But look, I feel very good about the investment. The money is there to put into the club. We will spend the money where it needs to be spent, and we're not going to spare the horses. This is important.
And it comes at a time where we ultimately question globalization. We question an ability of people coming together. You've got people from backgrounds in India and technology. You've got people in the US with brand exposure, and you're buying a UK asset. Is globalization dead? Is this the time to be putting money in globally?
I don't really think about it that way. I think sports brands in particular are global by nature, especially when you've got somebody like David and Gary involved. And if David has proven anything in Inter Miami, has proven that he can, invest properly in sports and do it intelligently. And he's a wonderful person. And Gary's been doing it for 10 years and has been successful in 8 or 9 different businesses. I'm in London or the UK every month. I don't think about it that way. We spent the last 3 or 4 months putting this together, and I think this brand, this club, more importantly, this story and the passion that the local people have for the team is quite unique. We're not trying to be Wrexham. We're not trying to be any other team. We're trying to be Salford. And we'll write our own history. We'll write our own story. And we'll do it patiently and calmly in a business-like manner. And hopefully we'll make some special things happen.
It's been wonderful talking to you.
Can I just add to
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to get caught up in politics. It's not where we want to go with this. But what I would say is that sort of growing up here in sort of the UK and in Manchester, the United States of America I felt as though they were almost like the grandfather of the world, the grandfather of the family. They looked after everybody. And I think when I played in the dressing room at Manchester United, we had players from the US, we had players from Europe, we had players from Africa, we had players from Asia, we had players from all around the world that congregated together into a dressing room with local people from Manchester, but also people from different parts of the UK, and integrated together as one and formed a fantastic team. And that's how I always believe the best partnerships exist. And the idea of sort of when we met in January with Declan wanted to bring together a diverse group of shareholders, not just with different levels of expertise, but also people who were different experiences from different backgrounds and cultures. And that's why I think this club has got a great chance of success in the future, that we don't all believe that we have to stay local and sort of know everything locally. And I'm proud of the fact that we brought together this diverse group of people, some from the US, some from parts of the Middle East and Asia, some from Ireland, some from the obviously UK. And I still think we're always better when we work together. And I was actually delighted to see that we'd done a trade deal with the United States just before our piece started, which is quite encouraging.